Hey everybody, Theresa here, and welcome back to my 2020 December daily album. And today I am sharing days 8, 9, and 10 with you. I'm really enjoying just batching a couple of days together at a time, and that seems to work out really well for working my way through the album and also for sharing with you right here on my channel. So welcome back to my channel. And so for day 8, I already knew in my head that I really liked this wooden 8 from last year's Ali Edwards December Daily product, layered on top of the Christmas tree transparency. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I have 2 photos that are of myself and my husband Alan, and I always include a layout every year that's a bit more romantic and is an expression of gratitude for him and for our relationship. And so I printed out 2 photos of us kissing in the kitchen, and I'm going to punch those out using a 3-inch punch and a 2.5-inch punch. And then I've also traced around the 8 for a pattern paper that's going to go on the back, and I'm going to do punched white cardstock to go over that 8 on the back so I can add my journaling there. And so just a couple of layering notes here. The 8, the photos will be attached to the 8, and then the 8 will be attached to the transparency, and then the pattern paper will be attached to the back, and then the journaling circles on top of the pattern paper. The pattern paper is from Crepe Paper Merry Days. I went back in my archive product a little bit here, and I always loved this green floral. This is one of the most beautiful Christmas florals that I've ever really seen, and just really loved that floral. And so it seems like a great contrast to the journaling spots that I'm going to do. And so I'm using red line tape to adhere everything together. This is outside of a page protector, and red line tape seems to hold up pretty well. And then I wanted to try to center this as best I could. So I grabbed this little cutting mat, and I'm just trying to figure out for myself where that center line, where the center point is, and then hold my breath and go ahead and put that down. And so all in all, I really loved how this turned out. This was a lot of fun to put together. I was really glad to have a fun page to get together and to put together for the album. And I wanted to just say, you guys left me so many lovely comments on my last video. Thank you for encouraging me. What I ended up doing was just putting the project aside for a few days. I put everything away, and I figured, when the inspiration hits me, then I'll pick it back up and I'll work back on it. And sure enough, a couple of days later, the air had cleared a little bit, and so that happens to all of us at some point or another, I think. So what you'll see is that I'm cutting or punching those journaling spots now. Those are tags from a previous year from Ali Edwards, and I thought that it would be cool to use that black line as like a ledger edge to start the journaling. I thought about embellishing outside of that margin, but in the end decided not to, and so you'll kind of see why. And then this is my Christmas chipboard bucket. You guys, this is like I feel like I open this thing up and the angels sing. And, but it's different crepe paper collections, Snowflake, Hey Santa, Merry Days, and Fa La La, a little bit of Fa La La in there. And then also a bit of, I've got Simple Stories in there and some, Pink Fresh Studio in there. And so I pulled out the little Holly Jolly banner, and I think because I want the two circles to overlap a little bit, and then the banner in between will sort of hide that seam. And so I just used a little line stamp to stamp some lines, and they're really messy lines, and that's okay. And then I'm just going to journal a little bit about how the one big thing that this year has reminded me of is just how thankful I am to have a partner who is compassionate and loving and has been there for me and has been there for our family. And I'm just super thankful for that. And the pandemic has really reminded me of that. And so it's just a little love letter, to him in that regard. He is, if you don't know our backstory, this is our second marriage for both of us, and we are a blended family together, and it has been a wonderful journey with him. And so I do always include some sort of layout like this in my December daily albums. And I know that one day, if I'm gone before him, then he'll be able to look through these albums and find these love letters to him. And I try to do the same for the kids as well. And so I adhered that little banner in between the two journaling circles, and then I'm going to add a little bit of embellishment to the front as well. And this sort of took me a few minutes, and one of the things that inspired adding some embellishment was that you could see the chipboard behind the transparency, and that's okay. That's not really the end of the world. I think that it would have been fine to leave it like that, but there was an opportunity just to add a little something here. So I'm just playing with a couple of different options. I thought that was a lot of fun. I liked the little deer, but something about it didn't feel right. I didn't want it to compete with the trees that are on the transparency. I don't know if that makes sense. It also looked like the deer was floating a little bit in the air. So that's okay. I'll find something. I then pulled out these little mittens and the little Fa La La word art. And those seem to work really well. So I'm going to peel a little bit more of the chipboard off of them so that they'll kind of layer together. And yes, I do, if you're wondering, I do pull my chipboard off of the big sheets and remove the adhesive backing off of them. I find that Crepe Paper's chipboard is beautiful. It's some of my favorite product. I am guilty of hoarding it. Yes, absolutely. But it's a little thick. And so I like just tearing off the adhesive backing, and then you can play around with them a little bit too on your pages. So that way I can layer these a little bit, and it won't be too bulky in the album, although this is a little bit of a bulky page, and that's okay. That's okay too. So you noticed that I tried gluing. That Tombow adhesive does not stick to the wood. So So I ended up using the red line tape, and I think that will hold pretty well. And then, hey, look who's back, the little deer. And I decided to add the little deer onto the back of the envelope that was for day 7. And so that was a cute little way to include that little pink deer. And then I added another little word art there for holiday wishes. And again, just figuring out how best to stack these so that they can overlay a little bit. And this time I used foam tape since it wouldn't really be showing from the front. So that will pull day 8 together. And then I'm gonna go ahead and tell you a little bit about day 9 already. So every year I go looking for little embellishments and little things to add to my albums, and I like to just go shopping at some of the our local vintage shops. And one of the ones in High Point had this little number 9, and I'm guessing that it was a door number, or I don't know, but it's metal and it's inset in the back. And so I took this photo of Natalie. She was drawing that day on her bed, and I cut that in a 5-inch circle and red line taped that inside the back of the number 9. And then I'm layering some of the alphabets from the Allie Edwards December Daily release here. And those are, they're just a little chipboard alphabet. And I really liked how that fit. I wrote "Love You More." It's something that she and I say, and then I'll say "Love you more," and she'll say "I love you the most," and I'll say "Nope, I love you the most." And so that was kind of how I dealt with that photo for day 9. And then that left how to do a bit of journaling for day 9. And so I grabbed this tag, this 4x8 tag from last year's December Daily product. And I'm going to punch that and then add it to the album. And so I decided I had to do a little bit of thinking about how I wanted day 10 and then day 11 after that. And this is one of the reasons I like batching days together, because then you can plan a little bit what is coming next. And I already know that I'm not going to leave day 10 in those 2x2 page protectors. I have an idea in my head about that page and how I want to handle that. And so that means I need the back of this tag for the photo for day 10. So I'm going to write my journaling here for day 9. And so it's a funny story. Natalie needed some new pajamas, and so we went off shopping to the Target and the Kohl's to get her some new pajamas. And when we were at the Kohl's, I swear, you guys, we had the worst cart ever. This cart, it was loud and it was bumpy, and it was one of those stroller carts because that was all they had. And I kid you not, everywhere I went, I was bumping into stuff. And at one point, Natalie just looked me straight in the eye and she said, "Is this how it was when I was in the stroller?" And I looked her deadpan in the face and I said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, this is exactly how it was." And we just died laughing over that. It was a really funny moment. And so that was my story for that day. And then what I'm doing with the tag is I added a little bit of washi tape here from crepe paper and a little puffy word sticker as well, just to sort of delineate or outline the journaling versus that title. The title was like right in the middle of the tag, which was kind of a weird location, but that's okay. I think it worked out. And then here's where I'm taking apart the page that I made for day 10. And I sort of have in my head what I want to do. And I saw Sabrina Poole, Mrs. Scrap and Plan, had done something very similar to this. She had stamped these tags and just layered them very simply over a transparency. And so I'm going to scrap lift her and put those on a transparency just like she did. And then I will have a link to her layout in my blog post, so you'll be able to see her original page that I am scrap lifting here. And I am just doing it from memory, from what I remember it sort of looking like. Hers would probably be a little bit different. But then I thought, well, maybe I want to use different numbers for the day 10. But I was going back and forth over whether I wanted the 10 to be on the transparency or whether I wanted it to be on the photo side. And so I'm just trying all the different options here. Just a few, ideas to see what works. And so my story for day 10, it ended up being just one of those quiet days where I was pretty much in my studio all day, working on deadlines. And I also was looking out the window and realized that our little tiny tree in the front yard, had finally turned fall colors. Living in North Carolina, the trees turn colors a little bit late, and actually a lot of years our leaves get knocked off by rainstorms before they even have a chance to turn colors. But I looked out my window and there was this bright splash of orange color, and so that was my story for the day. In the end, what I decided to do was stamp day 10 across the top, similar to how I have been stamping in the album previously this year, using this little Hero Arts alphabet block stamp. I love that thing, or stamp set, so sorry. I love that stamp set. And so I'm going to go ahead and adhere my photo here and get that down where it needs to be and punch the holes in the photo so that it will go into the album. I also, you'll notice the little ribbon that I'm using. That is from Target, and I love it because it's a nice graphic width here, and it ties in a very black and white tag with the other red elements on the layout. And so there it is, the day 10 stamped across the top of the photo, and I felt like that kept it really clean and simple, and I like that. I like that a lot. So the transparency that I'm using here, I was pretty sure that it still had a backing on it, so I went ahead and pulled that off. Yay me. And the transparency I'm using, it's a little white grid, and I believe it's from Ali Edwards from a previous year. And then I had to think about, how am I going to adhere or attach these little vellum tags onto the transparency. I went ahead and wrote out my journaling, just wrote about a quiet day working in the studio. And then I decided that I would go ahead and just use my sewing machine to attach these. I trimmed everything down so it was a little bit more uniform. And then there you can see how I use the sewing machine. What I do is go ahead and put your foot down on the sewing machine and turn the wheel so that your needle pierces into the product, and then run the pedal and hold it in place so that it just goes back and forth in the same holes. And that makes a nice little barely visible stitch there. That's really nice. And I kind of liked how that looked. It doesn't stand out, but you also have this little touch that's there so that they will, so they'll hang on throughout the years. And I also, I did that with the felt star as well. And so, yeah, that completes these pages in my album. Thank you so much for watching. You can see more details on the blog at theresamoxley.com. You guys, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday, and I will see you back here again soon. Bye-bye.